Hello everyone, you're welcome to this lecture series. If you are new to this channel, we encourage you to like, to subscribe and also turn on the notification bell. Thank you. Now today we are going to look at the cell. We are going to learn a lot about the cell today. So by definition, what is the cell? As we all know, the cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. In another word, you can define the cell as the smallest unit of life or the basic unit of life. The human body is developed from a single cell called zygote. And this zygote results from the fusion of the female egg cell and the spermatozoa. Now these cells undergo division and it continue to multiply. At the end of the day, the human body has over 37 trillion cells. There are authorities that said the human body has between 60 to 100 trillions of cells. Now these cells are in different shape and in different sizes, but all share a common features. Now, one will be wondering if the cell or the human body comes from one cell, that is the zygote. Why are they in different shape? Why are they in different sizes? Now, the simple answer to this is specialization. They are programmed, they are sensitized to perform specific functions. And for that reason, you see that even though they are from the same source, but they assume different shape, they also have different sizes. And human being is a multicellular. That means they are made up of more than one cells. We also have organisms that are just one cell, and such organism we call them unicellular organism. Now, let's also look at the cell theory. The cell theory gives us the idea of what we've been talking about earlier on. And we have about four theories stated here. Number one, all living things are made of cells. So anything that you can think of that is a living thing is made of cells. Whether it is plant, whether it's animal, as far as it is a living thing, they are made of cells. That is theory one. Theory two cells. The cell is the basic unit of structures and function. In another word, the cell is the basic unit of life. Now, all cells come from pre-existing cells. That is the third theory. All cells comes from pre-existing cells. Then the fourth theory cells state that cells contains hereditary materials, that is DNA, and perform metabolic functions. In another word, cells contain hereditary materials, and these materials are transferred from generation to generation. The cell itself has several parts, specifically three major parts, right? We have the outer part, which is called the cell membrane or plasma membrane. This part is flexible and is a barrier that controls the entry and exit of substances. And it's basically made up of phospholipid bilayer plus protein. So the substances that form the outer layer are the phospholipids and proteins. And of course, sugar, that is glucose or carbohydrate, are also embedded in them. Now, the second part is the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is that jelly-like fluid inside the cell, and it contains organelles. Now, I have a lot of organelles, which we'll consider very shortly. All right. Now, we have the third part. The third part of the cell is called the nucleus. The nucleus is the control center of the cell, and it contains DNA. It also directs the activities of the cell and of course the body. Now, if you look at what you have here, this is a diagram of the cell. You can see we have the nucleus, and the nucleus contains the nuclear pore, the nucleolus, the nucleoplasma, the nuclear envelope. They have the cytoplasm, also have surrounding the cytoplasm, and of course the nucleus is the membrane, the cell membrane. All right. So if you look at the cell, the cytoplasm contains a lot of organelles. You can see the ribosome, you can see the cytosome, you can see the central, you can see the lysosome, the ribosomes, and so many organelles. Now, we're going to consider some of these organelles. We're going to say one or two things about them. Now, the first organelles we'll be considering is the mitochondria. Oftentimes, when we hear of the mitochondria, what comes to our mind is that it is the powerhouse of the cell. Now, why is it called the powerhouse of the cell? It's because it produces energy. Actually, this part of this organelle is central to aerobic respiration. That is the process by which chemical energy is made available in the cell. And we said this is in the form of ATP, which is released when the cell breaks food nutrient down. Now, the next organelle is the ribosomes. Now, the ribosomes are tiny granules that are composed of RNA and proteins, and they are basically in the cell to synthesize proteins from amino acid using RNA as the template. Now, they are present in 3 units, or you also find them bound to the endoplasmic reticulum. All right. Now, as we said earlier on, their major function is they produce, or they are protein factory. Now, the next organelle is the endoplasmic reticulum. The endoplasmic reticulum is divided into two. We have the rough endoplasmic reticulum, we also have the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Now, the rough endoplasmic reticulum processes protein, and this as a result of the attachment of the ribosomes to it. They are stunted ribosomes, and when they process proteins, they export these proteins from the cell. All right, and these proteins could be enzymes, could be anything you can think of. All right, that's associated with proteins. Now, the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, they make lipids, they also detoxify. Now, let me add more emphasis here. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum is site for the production or the synthesis of steroid hormones. So steroid hormones are produced by the smooth endoplasmic reticulum, and this is the site for detoxification too. So there are substances that get into the cell, the smooth endoplasmic reticulum detoxify them. I also have the Golgi apparatus. The Golgi apparatus is like the warehouse of the cell. Now, it is where whatever that is produced by the endoplasmic reticulum is received. So packaging and transporting or shipping of these substances are actually done by the Golgi apparatus. So the Golgi apparatus receive either proteins or steroid hormones or lipids synthesized by any of the endoplasmic reticulum. They now package and ship it or transport it to where it is necessary. We have the peroxisome. They are One, organelles that detoxify harmful substances. They are very, very important. They also have the cytoskeleton, the form structural support movement in the cell. They also have the central. The aid in cell division. Very, very important. They also have the lysosome. The lysosome are small membranous vesicles pinched off from the Golgi apparatus. Now they contains enzymes that are involved in breaking down of fragment of organelles or large molecules into smaller particles. All right. Now they contain granules or enzymes that lysis. That is why they have the ability to break down substances. Now we'll also look at what we call cell transport, how substances get into and out of the cell. And as we've learned earlier, the cell membrane is like the gateway where substances enters and leave the cells. Now there are two major processes of transport in and out of the cell membrane. All right. Now the first one is the passive transport. Now the passive transport doesn't require energy, and it involves diffusion. It also involves osmosis and facilitated diffusion. But the second one, which is active transport, requires energy, and this includes pump, as the sodium potassium pump. We learn more of this in nervous system. They'll have the endocytosis, where the cells actually surround whatever molecules that it comes in contact with, engulfs it, takes it inside, digests it. They'll have exocytosis. Now, exocytosis takes out, send out whatever that is in there. Maybe they pick a material that is not needed by the body after the detoxify or the process it their own way, they now send it out because it's not needed by the body. Now, I want us to also look at this. This is a structure of the cell membrane showing us active transport, how substances get into and out of the cell through the cell membrane. Here you can see we have uh, the diffusion is shown here. The oxygen uh, crosses the membrane through diffusion. We also have the um, the sodium ions. We also have glucose. Glucose crosses the membrane through what we call the facilitated diffusion. Then we have other substances that uses active transport. For instance, the sodium potassium pump. Now, all this where we have active transport is where when these substances are moving against the concentration gradients. Are we together? But if they are moving along the concentration gradients, the movement is passive. However, if there is need to require that it requires energy, that becomes an active transport. Okay, so the difference between the two is that one requires energy, the other one doesn't require energy, and the one that requires energy is the active transport because it's moving against the concentration gradient, while the one that doesn't require energy is called passive transport. That means it is moving along the concentration gradient. Now we are coming to the end of our class. From the beginning, we've learned what a cell is. We can state the cell theory. Okay, we've seen the major part of the cell. Our cell is divided into three main parts: the cell membrane, the cytoplasm, and the nucleus. And we said that the cytoplasm contains the organelles. If you are still following us, I would like you to like this video, subscribe to this YouTube channel if you've not done so, and put on the notification bell so that you'll be the first to get notified whenever I post another video. Now, also talked about transport across the cell membrane, and remember I told us that we have passive transport, also have active transport. Now, passive transport we say doesn't require energy, And why? Because the movement of substances is along the concentration gradient, while active transport is against the concentration gradient. That is why it requires what? Energy. We have come to the end of this lecture. If you have any questions, you drop it in the comment section. Do as well to invite your friends, your classmates to learn the simple way of knowing the cells. Now, these are the basic knowledge you need in your exams. When you study this, you grab this, you will not have issues if you have to describe the cell and any other thing about the cells.